Coming in line settings, high position operations server locations. It's skipping them through 6 lines of channels. It started off at 0 and went from 6 to 12 to 24 to set location lines and position travels. It waits for my voice grid. Now, what that means is really stand you are controlling everything in your space lines, because if it doesn't recognize your voice pattern, you're going to have a very hard time understanding your sequence, set location, your systems, all through new technology streams. Directing communication to its operation service location is now in line calculation setting, putting position travels. It's blocking its set location line interference. Went from 59 to 105. 59 to 105. Now it's at 111, right? So the information panel is going so fast to track location and voice and line screens, directing your communication setting to all levels of operation surface. Now it's at 122, waiting on signal, waiting for a 60,000 line panel, setting position locations into 128. Imagine that, to 128 to 133. Why is it skipping, right? Try to understand how this all works in your systems when you use the particle accelerators, lines of your position of space and time to parallels. It's the dimensional lines, screen lines. So every time I look at the provisions and cycles and communication system, it went from 149 to 154. Imagine how fast that goes in set location line settings once you understand the controlling mechanism high position of its programs, right? So all set location 159 to 205. Okay, now it's at 210. Now it's at 215. It should be going 216, 217, 218, 219, 220. It's skipping anomalies. Try to stand the track interference is understanding the set location of where you are through mechanism lines of travel. Okay, now there's a central communication setting. See, 231 to 230, position line connections of 6. Do you guys ever look at your timelines? No. You concentrate only on what you see through video screen. You should be looking at your time frames. It's in live. It is at 252. Tractors, correlates, and setting attractions. High volumes and lines of 8 into 10 into 4. So you control the space and time. You control the seconds, minutes, and hours of your time. Okay. Now it's at 304. Now it's at 310. So it went up through 6 line centers and provision location of 6 million cycles per second, per minute, per hour, per frame. Now it's at 315. Now it's at 320. See? Showing exactly how this all works in your provisions once you understand how to see this through detection. Your magnetic line screen and direct signals. Now it's at 331 from 315. See? You see how it's skipping line settings and high position in its operation surface location? Pretty powerful stuff. So how often do we look at this through scripture? How often do we look at this through description? How often do we see ourselves through the setting, location, and projection, right? Projection of all levels and how we see, okay? Support you understand that set conditions. So everybody had a great weekend. We had a lot of provisions lines and high calculation your stream location of centers. So provisions on 2 cycles. We open up all position locations in this setting. Line condition 9 centers and position to its operation. Okay, 2 channel stream locations. Okay, equals line to correlating high interference into 4 set locations, equal lines, calculation lines of 5 line positions, all setting and position at equal lines of 2, equal lines communication of 7 of operation. Okay, so you're always working with 7 provisions and cycles. So that's 2 panels of communication. Tracking calculation line interference into 1, 2, 3 set locations. Travel calculations of 3 and position of 4 in travel communications. Mechanism of calculation lines. Set track lines of 1, 2, 3, 4 set location. Okay. So we're in a 4-track line connecting high centers. So we got 4, 4, 4 set location of bracket lines, equal line communications, waiting on signal, setting communication of 544. Track to its high position locations. So in signify in position of energy line, streamline set location of balance is line calculation solar streams is set locations. Now when you start with the double helix, it's a calculation setting to a fly direction of time sequence in position of panels. Directing communication line setting location to its all levels, a high calculation system of face recognition time sequence. Okay. There's the face recognition of time sequence. See? See the face? That equation. All right, so 4 channels of stream location centers. Setting lines of provision. Now I understand the circle communication lines of 24 line signals, equal line calculations of 48, equal line calculations of 72, equal line calculations of 144, track location system, equal lines calculation of 13, setting position of traction. Okay, so 2 in provision, 4 in cycles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Set position its operation surface. Sun comes in, protects the system to its location. Directing calculations of 48 line windows. Frame line rotation interference of dimensional sails is at the location high interference travel calculations. So we take the modification lines of 144, track this coordinate setting to its panel, and security lines dimensional door setting location of 3 settings. Tracks its communication line interference. Sets position location of 13, platitude line of rotation in travels and location grid in line position of travel settings in all set location. Travel calculation line interference in a 12 line rotation surface, setting location of 24 line signals and set position as operation. Triangulate high interference of 72 in line communication to computer frame, boxes, location centers. Operates the signal location system at all levels of set locations. All right, see the connection high interference of 24 frame lines and at 48 lines of dimensional lines of sails and communication. So there's dimensional sails in each line, lock line center. It sets position its operation location system. 48 line wave lines, rotation frames, position location to 72 computer frames into 144, tracking system locations into 13 settings. 13 settings sets up the higher self, travels through set location of travel settings and direction. That my equation. All right, so we set the 72 line position of its operation surface, 4 generations, 4 activations, stream locations, and high setting. Setting track to correlated setting of flux capacitor. Now the flux capacitor sets position of all of the triangulation and reset position of programs. Direct calculation high interference into box frame and set location high centers and all levels of operation. Triangulates high calculation setting. Sun positions of the moon, the opposite directions in all set location system and all travels and mechanism. See? Right? So that's 3,000 lines of solar charge. That's 3,000 lines of solar charge and 1 split of a second lines of anomaly line rotation interference. So now's the time to really stand. It's 756 lines of 802. You tell me why it keeps skipping. It's not skipping. My voice line is faster than lines of a clock line rotation center. So if you're going faster, your provision cycles are going in position of balance. It's set line calculated setting. The track to its communication setting is know exactly how to use the 4 provisions. So we're in a 3 tri-fi line rotation center. Now, indirect signal, it's all about understand how to use the 444 and track locations in the light years, tracking its information panels to set location of its operation. Very complicated stuff. All through signal location of face recognition. Okay. Okay, so that's exactly what happens through the star panels, stargates, star portals, line interference. To look at these signature lines, okay, so you got a teleport stream location system, track its correlation line settings. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Set track lines of 1111, position location 1111, position location line settings, right? So tracks lines and 2 lines of set location, 3 lines of provision, and 4 lines of cycle. Graph communication with the sun and the moon, and line settings and high position of its operation surface and set locations. Travel calculation line settings and fly direction time sequence and all levels of operation. Directing communications, all right? One-way center and the other set location of travel settings. Directing communication lines of triangulation high positions into female, position location of male, male into female line rotations, male into female, and position locations all and female line rotations. Sets position locations of Mother Earth, line calculation center position operation. Center position is magnetic highway information lines of father space and traction. Okay? Now you come into the orb line channel, direct signal location system into a cluster calculation stream. Directs calculation of teleportation line interference, high calculations, high centers, 4-point systems and track location at 2 portals and activation stream locations. Portal communication line interference of detection. So it's track lines of high division. So we come into modification line centers, pi direction of time sequence. Okay. Position location of center lines and 2 position location of point systems. Travel calculations right through line setting. Okay, so modification line streams into molecules and 2 track locations. Okay. Directing communication lines of panels into all level settings of 4 track locations. Directing communication of the sun and the moon comes back in lines to high interference of projection and position location operation. Triangulates high position of point systems. There's an XT1000. There's one XT1000 here in line rotation setting. Travel calculation lines of a high calculation string locations. 6 in panels, 6 in operation surface, and high colors in the line rotation surface, triangulation reset position of programs, and center communication settings and realms of correlation. Very complicated stuff. Okay. So we're setting the spectrum realms, the line settings and high position of its operation surface, and change in repositions of programs. The modification lines of colors is ready to stand your flywheel record some time sequence. Puts position locations of platforms into dome centers as set location travel settings of its operation surface and set locations. Travel records some time sequence. Now, we come into sonar communication, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels of operation, directing communication settings and traction. Okay. Now, in that signify calculation high interference, the XT1000 goes here and goes back up in signal into modification into the center line of communication. Opens all calculation setting interactions. Now we come into these portals. In line setting, all levels of operation surface to new triangulation reset position of programs. Directing communication line interference. So we go back in signal in position of future line adaptation. Past, present, future, all timelines all at once in 2-dimensional door settings and set location. Travel calculation security panels and 3 set location line settings in travel communication. All right, done by equation. Okay, very complicated stuff, guys. Okay, so it's really to understand the 5 elements of line screens. Directing communications lines of your earth, calculation high interference, location of airs, line calculation of waters, and position of your fires. Okay, earth generates a set location lines, high cal thin ether, sets location centers and line position location to its center. Air comes into line, sending high calculation line interference to subterranean lines of water communication, directing high position locations into 3 panels of communication centers of traction. Water comes in line, sending high interference into waving cycles and line rotation surface and triangulation reset position programs. And position all levels of fire resets position travel calculation lines of your data streamline interference in your birth communication setting at all levels of magnetic high information line cycles and high set location. Triangulation reset position at all levels, center line rotation at all levels, detection, dilation, line rotation interference, affinity line position of travel communication. Direct line set location, all line set location, high settings and travels. Equal line position locations, all levels, center communication line centers, all operation system, and center position to its operation surface. Triangulation high interference, earth line, 2 line tracks, air line, 2 line tracks, water line position location of 4 line tracks, set position of fire and high calculation of 5 line track location setting into pyramid string location of center of operation. Directing communication line panels, sets location your centers and traction. Done by equation. Okay. Mechanism high calculation stream locations indicates, right? Panels communication line screens, setting calculation high interference to set position to its operation surface, sets suns and tunnels and line rotation centers around the position of portals, and calculation string location of center of operation to a pyramid line string location of center is set location of set location. Now, directing communication XT1000 here, XT1000 here, and 2 track locations. Directing communications scans here, sending line, scans here, sending line position location operation. Done by equation. Boom. Right? So the 4 element streamlines, set location lines of the earth, the airs, and the waters, and the fires is now in detection stream location setting. Now this puts 24 over water, 24 over sector, 24 over pi, and 24 over line screen. Very complicated what it is and position location, how to communicate with your earth perceptions, how to communicate with nature resource line settings, how to communicate with your atmosphere line set locations, how to communicate with your power generation line calculation setting, location high operation system, and how to communicate with your magnetic high wave information lines of data box stream location. It's very important to understand how to use your active project locations to your film scripts, setting line calculation, stream locations to your system through Merkabah tesseract in your tetrahedron location centers. Operation surface set location your system and traction. Okay. All right. So we're in a 15 lines of 4 line. I need you guys to recognize your communication. So when you go live on YouTube or line communication setting, check out your timeline. You're going to see it be all calculations skipping. It's going to be skipping through 3, 6, and 9, 12, and 24. That's position of track line where it comes in back and balance and line position anomalies in a reset position of program that sets all calculation setting how to use the 5 elements of view of Earth, space, and track locations to your system through airs, waters, and fires and track line connections of your DNA line positions into your original imprints and position your settings, your templates and tablets, and calculation modification in your memory lines and high calculation location centers. Now, let's understand position location track lines. It sets line communications, right? So it's at 15.43. Now it's at 15.48. Now it's at 48 to 54. Okay? There's a reason why the time is moving faster than anything you can see through track line connections. It's all mechanism high interference, how the brain sees the conversion and set location or interception settings. Okay? So in track locations, the now line set location is 16 line settings. Equal line communications, all levels of 14. 14 line position locations, all line 6. 16 line calculation setting and 1 provision. 4 line calculation stream location of detection. 7 lines of provisions and protection, high calculation stream locations. Now, getting line interference, 1 position of 16. 16 calculation line interference comes in line calculation setting. All set location of 35. 35 line set location equal lines of 41 in set location. Okay. So it's really understanding how to really understand the 35, say position of 40, plus 1, okay, is what? Is set location. So that's 6, right? Skipping lines of 6, right? Moon information line, ground lines, high calculation stream location, and to detect high interference. Now this 4 tracks the system, 4 activates line screen location and position of provisions, and a 4 line calculation setting and dimensional line of a portal communication streamlines and high connection settings in the operation surface. Okay. So really pay attention to these things now because your timeline is going to skip through line screens. Okay. Because it's trying to understand the balance of where you are in your frequency patterns. Okay. Because we're in reverberation channels now. Higher frequency lines in 1 signal position of panel line. Okay. So you get 17. Line calculations of 34. Steady track lines. So that's 34. And position locations into 40. Okay. Set location equal lines of 7 and track locations. Okay. So that's 7 seconds per line per square per mile. Box line rotation center and set location. All right. Directing communication line centers a center line position location to your flywheel. Calculates and modifies your system's system, how many times it travels around lines of its particle accelerator in line calculation. Directing communication line settings opens up all orbs channels in phase direction of time sequence on position. Right? So tractors communication, new ground line. Operation line set location to its operation surface. Okay. Setting track line calculation, setting interference. So really pay attention to all of us of the seconds, minutes, and hours allocations. All right. So it's important to understand these things because your timeline sequence is going to skip from 3, 6, 9, and 12, and 24. All right. So it's going to go 3, 6, 9, 12, and 24. Equal lines correlation is skipping panels. Okay, so what it's doing is setting up a new anomaly to new fraction over pi, directing positions of old patterns into 4 generation streamlines as 4 calculated set location of bracket interference into 4 zeros, a correlation setting, putting line position locations into 144 and track location into your frequency patterns as time in your timeline centers and set location of travel as a mechanism high calculation. Okay, complicated stuff. All right, so your time sequence is not going to be this anymore. Okay, it's not going to go through 24 equals lines 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Okay, so the seconds in high calculation setting is going to change tractions now. Okay, because the provision lines of your cell lines are now in seconds. So send a position location high interference, sets track to its communication system, right? So you got 19 minutes. Okay, so that's 1 lines of 9. Okay, 1 lines of 9 is allocation of 3 settings, equals lines of 3, equal lines of 3, equal lines of 3 set locations, heart, mind, and soul. Direct and communication line settings is the levels, equal line communications, which is 20. Okay, set position location, which is what? 0, 9 in track location. Okay. So it's really interesting. 9 from that line calculation sending lines, position locations into 19. See? 19. See 2019. What was I calculating to? 2019. Right? So it's interesting to look at the location high interference, and it goes into 25. So I'm going through sequence patterns every second, every minute, every hour in set locations. All right? So we all understand the seconds, minutes, and hours now because it's skipping through parallels of its own dimensional space line. The elements of skyline is sky grid line position to its operation is location grid settings. Point system, point system, point system. Okay. Try to calculate line interference into 20. Set position location at 53. Sets position location high setting high interference into all position of track lines. So, and then we get into the volume of 12 signature streams into 7 lines of calculation setting into thumbs up. So 20 lines, 53 into all calculations, into 12, into 7. Okay. So the mechanism of calculation lines of 2 is seconds. Okay. And the 0 line is minutes. Okay. Per frame. 5 line division location is a balance line streaming calculation high interference, which is the hours in set location to its settings. And 3 communication line interference is set location to its hours in set location travel lines. Now the 12 volume line calculation system puts position of 12 line clock lines, setting direct signals of 3 panels of communication. Setting track lines of 7 sets position of 7 bodies of water and track location. Okay. High mechanism line settings at all levels of volumes and all line rotation surface and solar generation, Wi-Fi, and satellite position attraction. Very complicated stuff. Okay. So it's very complicated because now we're in the seconds, minutes, and hours and set locations. Your earth, your waters, your airs, and your fires. Okay. So mechanism in between is calculation setting. This is the space in between. Okay, and set locations. All right. That's the space in between. Right. That's what it is. Once you stand out for provisions, it comes out in 3 cycles. Okay. Center communication line system attractions. 3 lines as set locations. Okay. So what that means, it sets lines at interdimensional lines that correlate in high interference and travel communication setting and attraction. Now, indirect signals comes in all set locations of platforms in 3 set locations. Travel calculation lines at dimensional door settings. 3 track communication setting opens up another dimensional door line rotation. Track calculation security and panels on high position to its operation. Sets correlation high interference, XT1000 comes in, scans position, scans position, scans position on 3 set locations. Sets positions of pi. See the pi direct signals? Half split lines and 3 set location of travels lines of 4. 4 lines of calculation of 3. So 4-dimensional line screens. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 over pi. See? See the 4 pi's? So this is pi, this is pi, this is pi, and this is pi. Okay? So the 4 generation streamline is now set up in patterns in position of 2 lines into 4, 6, and 8 provisions of cycles and communication of security panels and high position of operation. Done by equation. Platform communication crosses stream. Okay? Sets locations in position location to its block surface and set position to its operation. Okay, done by equation. Now, like I said, it's going to get a lot more tricky now because your formation ground lines and your set location system is no longer in a double helix. Okay, it's in a triple wave cycle now. So in line calculation setting and position location solar graph lines, setting direct signals into 3 communications, setting track lines of high interference. The opposite location is a 4-track location setting. Okay, mechanism line calculations of 4 equals lines of 3 equal lines of 7 in track location. Okay, so we all have to recognize the position of platforms. So we got into 24. I'm going through time sequence. Okay, now it's in 25, right? Mechanism high calculation setting equals lines of 30. Okay, so that's equal lines of 5 in center position of operation, right? So it skipped 5 channels in vortex location of stream setting. Okay, setting correlations of 2 and position of 24, 2 panels operation, right? Equal correlating high interference and Merkaba up, Merkaba down, and center line rotation surface and triangulation. Directing communications of panels, 2 travels over line rotation, travel calculation of clock lines, high calculation setting. Operation surface and new panels of communication lines, a circle line communication of crop circles and set location. Okay, done by equation. So don't worry about what I'm doing. Everything is done through set location line settings and tractions. Very, very complicated formula equation, but I'm doing it through time sequence. All right. So I'm going through the seconds, I'm going through the minutes, and I'm going through the hours into a 25, 18. That's equal line correlated setting to a 23 set locations. 25 equals 15 equals 23, right? So you really understand how it sets lines of the seconds now. Seconds sets position locations. Minutes, okay, sets the hour, okay, through clocking, okay. So in provision line calculation setting, now we're at 25 lines, and we're at 50 set locations, okay. So, and it's line calculation setting. The volume is now 11 equals lines of 7, okay. So the viewers is 11, you circle line communications. 7 is in track lines of 2 panels of operation, right? Tracks with correlated setting and projection and set position of travel calculation. Okay, so you bring the sun in, you bring the moon, you protect the system through its location center, attraction. Okay, operate the signal lines, the splits anomalies, calculation high interference into all positions set location of setting and travel. Calculate high interference is center line rotation center and track location. Okay, very complicated stuff. All right. So it's the mechanism line calculation setting to 26 equals lines of coordinating high interference and high calculation settings of 38. Position lines equals lines of 43. You see how that comes into 26 equals lines of 38 equals 43? So we all understand how it comes into 910, right? 910 is high center locations, all right? So that's 40. And calculations of what? Add 3 line connection high system, right? So that's 3 over track location of center position of operation, okay? So I know, see, that's what it is, Chris. It's extremely complicated now, my dear, because the thing is, the connections to the reverberate channels and location near line settings, we're now in seconds, we're in the position of minutes, and we're now in the hour frames, equal lines of clocking and set location, right? So it's going to get confusing now, okay? So it's not going to go through seconds of a 12-line cycle. It's going to go through a 3-second, 6, 9, 12, and 24. So it's going to skip channels of 3 lines, 6 lines, 9s, 12, and 24 cycles. So it's never going to be provision line connections of 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 12. It's not going to say position locations 27 into 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. It's going to go from 45 to 50. It's going to go 50 to 54. It's going to go from 54 to 61. So it's, you just have to say it's at 2806 now. And the provision cycles are line calculation in the lines is 12 in viewers and 7 in thumbs up. This location and settings. So we all understand how it works through the seconds, minutes, and hours because the reverberation channels of the frequency line is just going to be off the charts. So we come to H line center. There's the H, right? There's the H. H provisions is set location 1 line signature. Okay, solar generation stream location, high settings, right? Setting track line communications. So that's 3 over vision and set location of cycles and 3 set locations, right? That's where we are. 4 channels, 4 streams, 4 locations. Okay, directing communications 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in set position, right? Ground lines in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Set location line setting. 7 over track, 7 over vision, location is center. The operation line surface comes in all calculation setting to a crop circle line rotation center in seconds, minutes, and hours in track locations. Travel calculation lines of orb line channels, sets signals, alpha, delta, theta, and omega, and line setting and calculation stream location, high settings, all lines of colossal communication, all in galaxy line, shift line, stream locations, all levels of detection. Okay, done by equation. Very complicated stuff, guys. It's an extremely, extremely high position of formula. Okay, but you have to understand the cycles of 29 now. 20 line equals lines of seconds. Okay, so it's 20 lines of seconds. Okay, 43 equal lines of minutes. Okay, so it's really understanding position locations. So 29 is the seconds, 43 is the minutes location system. And equals line coordinating high and located high centers. How many volume? Position track lines over 12 equals lines of 7 over pi. Right? So in 2 in provision, 9 in cycles. Okay, so that's 3 central line communications, 3 over lines of 4, 4 equals lines of 7 in track locations, in traction. Okay, Setting lines of 4-line signatures, 3-line communications, all right? It's that location. Directing lines of 3 cycles, sets position location, your sun and your moon, and operation surface and track location, okay? Now, directing lines of 12 lines of volume, sets location system. Now, the 7 lines, calculated high interference, travels direct signals in line condition setting, one way to the other way. Operating cycles, high calculation setting, waving patterns, redirect panels, calculate stream locations in high calculation setting, data stream in position operation surface and set location. All right, dumb equation. So that's all it is. Mechanism high calculation line setting. So every time you look at your clocks or you look at your watches, it's going to skip channels. Okay. It has to, because the thing is that the earth line, the perception screen location, is coming to vibration line calculation setting and track lines. So you guys are working with 4 channels now, and equal line communications and interactions. Setting line calculation setting of seconds, and position of minutes, and position of hours, and set location of clocking, set location. All right. Into a 24-line screen, indirect signal, 24-line position locations, 48-line positional waves, 72 computer frames, and into 144. Setting line calculation setting. Now 13 can travel out now in all position location. All right. So the clocking line at 13 travels into position location at 13 above. Okay, so that's where we can move the 13 now, because the 24 is now in sequence. So 24 equals lines of 13 equal lines of 144 in track location. Okay, so that takes out the 3 in track line calculation setting. It takes the 4 in position locations going forward in future line adaptation of 4 channels. Add 1 screen line interference, 4 over line calculation of 3, sets provisions of 1444 in track location and measure, and set location of travel settings, and all levels of operation, surface, and triangulation. Okay, so that's set up through provision. How's everybody doing so far? Very complicated formula, very complicated, right? So that's what it is. It's basically understanding how to use the set location of seconds, minutes, and hours. Okay. So like I said, like you can change line of 32, or you can go through 3 and 2. Either way in line interference, but it's always working with seconds, minutes, and hours now. Okay, so 3 seconds lines, 2 charge line security in line interference, or it's set position of 32 seconds, sets position of 48 line communication setting attractions, right? So in position locations comes in 3 settings, all right? 3 seconds, okay, 2 minutes, okay, 5 hours, okay. Now the 5 hours is 5 million line seconds in set locations. So remember, you're always in position of the existence. The existence is the now set locations, right? So that provision line calculation setting is 33 at 10, going into position locations into 16. So that's 6 channels of operation per second, per minute, per hour, right? So that jump from all setting to 6. Okay. Very confusing, isn't it? So we all have to understand how to go through vortex screens, how to jump scar, how to basically time jump, time leap, in position of your seconds, in position of your minutes, in position location to your hours, through set locations of your clockings. Seconds, minutes, hours, clockings. Okay, all through provision. Okay, so we got 33. So that's set location to separate the 3 lines. So that's seconds in line calculation location system. That's 34. So that's 4 lines in minutes and track locations, and equal to lines of 2 operation. Setting track lines equal lines, all levels of 0, 6 in set location. Okay, so it's very complicated, guys. So 6 is lines of what? Comes in all lines locations into a half pipe. Mechanism high calculation stream locations centers and traffic communication system into moon of operation line screens set location and setting. Okay. Remember, you got to understand the seconds, minutes, and hours now. So I'm doing this all through frame, so you get a true understanding what it is, the line calculation setting when it comes into time frame, locking sequence, locking panels, 34 line provision equals line position. Okay, so the 2 points. You guys understand what this is now. 2 points. You understand the equal line center locations, right? So the 2-point provision location is 2 atom settings. Okay, equal line coordinating high interference and position locations to your diamond core and 4-way settings applications. All right. So you have to learn how to use your 24, 48. You got line calculation setting to 72. 144 sends line calculation to 13. Now 13 is above the 24. 24 equals 13. equal lines of 144 that track this location center attractions, right? So in that provision, you use the one-line cycle. We use the 4 generations and 4 track locations, okay? Now, directing lines of 3 equal lines of calculation high interference into 3 set location of 4 generation stream locations. That's 4 over 3 equal lines of 7 set location operation. To operation of 2 panels, position of traction. Sets lines of calculation stream locations. Indirect signal to a set location. Okay? All right, it's complicated, guys. But you really have to understand how it works and mechanism lines of travel. So I'm recognizing the seconds, minutes, and hours every time it's going through frame. Every single inline communication frame, provisions of frame, provisions of frame, provisions of frame, right? So that's 4 frames of position location of files of information, right? So we got line calculations of 3 million. We got 600,000, okay? Calculation high interference, and to 1 graph screen, which is minutes over pi, and 5 provision line cycles. So that's 500 files and communications in position through clocking system, all levels of a 144 track location. Okay. So it's extremely complicated, guys. You just have to understand the encryption now. It's very, very confusing because the thing is, you really have to understand the clockings. So every time you're on live or wherever you go, look at your seconds, minutes, and hours now, because now it's in its anomaly. It's back in its traction, it's back in its volume, it's back in its particle accelerator, it's back into its space and time through its clocking system. Now the 24 line signals is now in its operation surface. Your calculation lines is 72 track locations. Now 144 says position location, your settings and trackage. Okay, that traction opens up all signals and modification. So in that calculation setting, you go to higher levels of provisions. So the seconds triples. Okay, because remember, you're in seconds per line calculation. So it's in particle stream, it's in atom rotation, it's in your molecules, and it's also in your calculation, your cell lines and generation stream locations. Modifications of reproduction, regeneration, and calculation setting. Energized line calculation stream location system and size metrics, seismology, line rotation surface, and synergy, set location line calculation stream locations, and magnetic high wave formation channels of operation. Very complicated stuff. Center communication settings, all levels of flywheel, seconds and minutes per hour line channel. Direct communication line systems, all levels, higher levels of technique and technology, and set location of travel settings and operation. Direct communication of panels, crossing line stream locations, 1 provision and position of 2 lines, seconds, minutes, and hours per frame per line channel of operation. Complicated stuff, isn't it? So that's done. So I'm setting up the skyline grids, setting track lines of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 set locations, all right? So 3 line settings, 3 equals lines of seconds. Okay, that's a point system, right? So try to understand that it's going from all sets to what? Very confusing, because the connections to 3 line equals lines of seconds is the left position. It's the left, right? So 3 is left, 8 is right. Okay, you understand that? And the 2 provision cycle location setting is all tracked to its correlation system. Okay, when it comes in all setting attraction. Okay, so now you understand that 3, okay, is left equals lines of space. Okay, 3 equals left equals lines of space. All right, 9 is set location line setting equal lines of right and set locations in position of time. Okay, so you got the seconds. Okay, so the seconds, okay, is the space. Okay, equals lines, the correlation setting. The minutes is that location is the time. Okay, and the calculation stream location is the clocking of the space and time. A set location of provision and set location of travels. Very complicated stuff. Now the point centers on direct signals. You have to understand how to use the planets and set position of traction to its operation. Point system at all lines set a location of centers. Now we got 3 line provisions. XC1000 comes in, scans position of 2-point systems into 3-track locations, crossing signals, right? Now, if you look really close, you can see the mechanism of the theta box line rotation surface interaction. See the theta box? Travels out in 3 set locations of centers of operation. See? Boom. Done by equation. Remember I was telling you about right over left, left over right? Now you understand when you're looking at the seconds, you're looking at the space, you're looking at the time, and you're looking at the clocking. Space, time, and clocking. That's all it is. Okay? Now, it depends on how fast you're going. Slowing mechanism time centers. So you got 40 track locations. Equal line calculating high interference into 52. 52 comes into set position to its operation at 58. Okay? 52 to 58. It didn't go 53. It didn't go 54. It didn't go 55. It went right to 58, guys. Time jump, time late, time cross, time stream, time allocated, time levitation, time aviation, line position to your setting, traction. Okay? Mechanism, high positional force direction and time sequence, guys, and correlation. Okay? Very complicated stuff. Okay? It's so far beyond when you go through time settings. Now you get a 41 line screen and 2-point systems into 3 and 7 in set locations, right? 7 equals lines of clocking. Okay, remember that. So the provision cycles line calculation of 3 is minutes, is position of time. Okay, and 41 line settings equal line communications equal lines of seconds per pi through calculation. Very complicated stuff. Okay, so this is going to be so confusing for everybody because the thing is you're so used to the hours, minutes, and seconds. Right, so now it's all changed. So you're not going to see a clocking system go through a 42 line screen in equal line communications in a 14, because 14 equals lines is 20 now, right? So that's 6 over pi. Okay, boom. Went 14 to 20, that's 6 over pi, right? Now it's at 31. Now it's at 36. Okay, now it's at 41. Okay, you see what it did? You see what it did? It's got 3 generation screens in set position of operation. So that's right, Chris. That's exactly what it is, my dear. Yeah. The space between its clocking is fast and then the physical eye can see. Think of this scenery in Lucid. That's exactly what it is, and that's what it's always been. But you guys are directing your signals now through your tracker system because you're magnets to your own space of time through modification to your clockings. How do you use your 24, 48, 72, and 144 to get into your platforms, interdimensional line sales and solar sales and communication setting to your Merkabahs and your test architecture, your location and computer operation line calculation setting to its operation system, and track location. How to use it cerebral, how to use your placebos, how to use it through your thoughts. But you have to understand the seconds and minutes and hours now through clocking of space and time. Okay, through left and right. Okay, so the seconds is left. The seconds is space. You understand that? Don't get confused. Okay? So, inline position locations, the minutes is the time. All right? And the hours is the clocking. Okay? So the minutes is right. The seconds is left. So if you understand that track location, then you understand the X2000s come to you all bulbs of formation. Okay? All 3 line settings of 4 in track locations and position location of 4 in track location settings. So in position locations, it understands the seconds in line position location of the system. All levels of 3 set locations. Travel directions times sets back into the moon set location system and all line connections. Moon comes in and provision. Cycle line communication to travel settings. Okay. So now you understand the importance of your seconds, minutes, and hours, right? So you're always working with that. So we got 44, 2-point systems into 46 comes into 52. Okay. So it's going to be very confusing for a lot of people because they're skipping channels now, stream locations. So 52 is now at 03. 03 is set location line system coming into 08. coming to 8 line center locations in position track lines into all position location of 13. 13 comes in track location setting, which is your higher self, into 19 set locations. All right. So in provision lines, this is how it works. Okay. So we look at the 45, right? 2-point systems into 24. Okay. So this goes here, right? This goes here. Forward, right? So in position location, 4 equals the seconds. Okay. 2 comes in line setting. So that's 5 over 2, which is 7. Okay. Now 5 over 2 is 7 lines bodies of water. So that's the minutes. Okay. And that minutes per frame, okay, in position location of time. Okay. So the seconds, okay, equals lines of space, equal lines of left. Minutes, okay, equal lines is right, equal lines, calculation of time. Okay. And the hours equal lines of clocking and set location. Okay. So you're taking this and you're bringing it forward. You're taking this and you're bringing it forward, but you're adding 5 and 2, which is 7, right? So there's always going to be 7 in an equation of a clocking because it's all dealing with you. There's always going to be 7 provision because it's a digital code and set location line setting that sets Vega in communication to its command center, to its operation surface, how to really understand the set location of seconds, minutes per hour per frame, per calculation over pi in direct signals. Okay, it's set position to its operation. Very, very complicated stuff, but it's a lot of fun once you understand how to travel through the seconds, minutes, and hour per frame, per square, per calculus, per triangulation, per division, per rotation, per surface. Okay? So we got a 47. Let's start off slow. All right? So this position location line systems, point system, now we're at 23. Okay? So the 3 goes here. See? See the 3? What is 4 and 3? You guessed it. Sets position of 7. Okay? Always a 7 in a clocking system. There's always going to be a 7. So once you understand that the 3 is here, 4 and 3 equals 7, right? That's 7 bodies of water. Setting track location is seconds, minutes, and hours in your position of projection. It's set locations of time, right? Space, set location equal lines, seconds, position locations, all levels of left. Okay, and set locations. Minutes, line calculation setting, is time equals lines of right. Okay, and calculation of hours equal lines of clocking in position location your system and set position of operation. Okay, so the clocking is the center of its operation of point system. The hour is the clocking of point system. Okay, point system, point system, point system, system, triangulation. Okay, per second, per minute, per hour. Okay, very complicated stuff. Okay, now you understand the settings, now how this all works. So always going to bring that set position. You got 48, 2-point systems into 54. And remember, it's always going to change. 54, now it's 59. Okay, so if it's 59, you got to put the 9 here in set locations. All right, that's seconds. So you bring in the 9, and you're not moving back, you're going forward. You're going in the future line. So every time you go into seconds, you're always in the future, always in the future, always in the future. You're never in the past, you're never in the present. Okay, you're in the center operation of clocking system of point systems. Okay, this is the center operation of you. That never leaves. The only thing that leaves is the seconds, minutes, and its hour of its clocking system. Okay, but you never leave. You are the existence of the now. Now equals lines of the future location of you in set location. But you have to understand the seconds, the connections of the minutes, and set location line setting. Okay? So that's a provision line connectionized system. So this is how it works. The actual set locations, so that's line set locations, that's 8 seconds, 5 minutes, 0 operation, and the 5 line calculations of clocking. Right? So that's 0, 5. Right? So that's 0 line calculation setting. Gee, that's very powerful. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 line calculation high position. That's 4 equals lines of 5. 5 over pi, right? Because remember, the clock line center, high position, and track lines is set position location all system. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, is position location 144 in track locations, right? Equal lines of correlations of 1 over pi, calculations of 1 and position equals 5, 0, 5, right? You see how that works? But it's always over pi because you're always centering the calculation. The point system is the travel position location of point system. It's clocking. Point system is its clocking of all levels of center operation to get to its location. Okay? So once you're at your location, the XT1000 comes in and scans at 3 set location. Okay? And then it picks up its platform in setting into its operation surface and set location. Takes it up and takes it back to, you guessed it, its set position, goes through its sun and goes through its moon back in traction. So back to its location. Okay? So now you understand the mechanism when it comes into crop circles. But I really want you to understand how all this works through the seconds, minutes, and hours. Okay? In all set position in its operation, there's always going to be 7. See? There's 7 with thumbs up. It's good. That's all it is. 7 is the equal line coordinate high interference, which is your bodies of water. You're always going to have a 7 in the seconds, minutes, and hours. Always, because it's dealing with you. You are the center operation of the point system. How to use it through provision is to understand how to use the seconds, minutes, and hours, right? So let's say we got a 52 line setting. Equal line position location of 0, 3 sets to 0, 9. Okay? Remember I told you 3 to 9, right? So where did it go? What happened to that? It's got 3 channels, right? 3, 6, and 9. See? 3, 6, and 9, heart, mind, and soul, right? So 3, 3, 3. So that's 2 panels of operation split in between, right? 0, 3, it's at locations, right? Which is what? It's at location travel lines. What is 3 zeros in state location settings? Equal lines of 1 position to its operation is 72 track line connections. Okay? So a 52 channel of a point of a 0, 3 set location, equal lines of 9. So you have to understand how to skip the channels now. But you're always in provision of 7-line channel communication. Okay? So now you understand the 24-line calculation, 48 to 72 and 144. Let's go through this again. 24, equal lines of 0, 1. Start there, right? So that's position of 48 in position locations, 0, 0, 1 position, right? 72. Take locations of 1, 2, 3. There we go. 144. Okay? Setting track lines, equal line conditions of 1, 2, 3, 4, and there it is. Right? In provision locations of 1, in provision locations of 2, in provision locations of 3, in provision locations of 4, and set location. So that's 1 provision, 2 cycles, 3 channels, and 4 operation. Okay? All through a clocking. 24 lines yin and yang, 48 frame, box frame, 72 computer frame. See how it comes together? Then you get into 24 or 44, you guessed it, crystal grid. Sets location. So what does it create? Its dimensional setting, pi. There it is, right there. Bang. That's what you create. You're creating all this, all through platform, so it can travel out and mechanism line calculation setting now clocking. So, and that's what it is, but it's got to go through its point system of clocking. Clocking. All right? It's got to go through its clocking. Okay? But it has to go through its seconds, it has to go through its minutes, and it has to go through its hours. Okay? A set provision. See? Boom. See it? So very powerful when you come into this application. And what you're creating is you're creating pi. And what you create the pi, you create the security. See? Okay? And then you protect yourself and set location, your sun and your moon, all track location. Okay? So, how does everybody feel about that now? Never thought clocking could be that like that. and set location operation surface, right? See how important it is now in track location? How powerful it is of what you guys are coming into now through seconds and minutes and hours and how to travel, because that's what your thoughts are doing. Your thoughts are going through the seconds, they're going through the minutes, and they're going through the hours of point system. Who's the point system? You, through the equation. You don't change. Your mind shifts. So once you understand that, then you understand your body of consciousness goes with the flow. So you have the calculation setting to 3 track locations, 3 provisions, or 3 cycles. Heart, mind, soul. All through a clocking and position location line system. 5 into 5601. See? We are not aware of these things because we don't understand that we're magnetics to our own space-time anomaly. So there's always going to be a 7 over pi and everything in seconds, minutes, and hours through track locations. You know why? Because the timeline sees you in provision to where you are in your body of consciousness. That's never going to change in position locations when it comes in your 7 bodies of frames. That's never going to change when it comes in the 12 foundation frame locations of your chakras, of your rainbows. That's not going to change. The only thing that changes is your mind that shifts its anomalies, all levels of seconds, minutes, and hours, and how you perceive your system locations in your particles, levels of space and time, of your dimensions, and your clockings, of all set locations, how you go through pi. See? Pi. Straight here, up, pi. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Okay? Now you understand the importance? So, set a position location. 8 is seconds. 1 is minute. Okay? So really understand how to use the space, how to use the time, how to use the clocking. Okay? So that's how it works. 5728, 5734, 5739. Okay? Do we ever look at the calculation setting when something goes live and set location travels? No. These are the provisional locations where you have to really understand the left over right now. Your cycles in set position is right over left in vision, but your seconds, minutes, and hours are left and right provision. Okay? Right over left, left over right, left over right, right over left in a clocking system of time provision. That's set locations. Okay? So, okay? Mind blown. Very, very powerful high-rise line calculation setting to a formulas of equation of seconds, minutes, and hours and how to use it. All through traction. All right? That's it. We're done. See you in 5. Adios.